Rajandi, Shi Tunte Huntia. Welcome back to another episode of Small Town Res Girls. Today we have a special guest.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Felicia Frizzell, and thank you for inviting me to be on Small Town Res Girls.
Of course, we're so excited. We've been wanting to do this forever, and I'm glad that it's finally happening.
Me too.
So, what made you want to go into dental school?
Oh my goodness, that's a long story. So many little things happened on this journey, and it didn't really become obvious until it was actually unfolding. But from a very young age, I knew I wanted to be a doctor, and it was because we were at IHS all the time. Being the oldest of 7 kids, I feel like we were at IHS every weekend. And so I knew I wanted to be a doctor from the age of 12.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so I was always planning it. And even at Indian Health Service, one time a physician and the dentist, they were like, oh, she's going to be a physician. No, she's going to be a dentist. And I just laughed and thought for sure I'd be a physician and do family practice or OBGYN. But I've always loved teeth. I always would look at people's teeth, and I wanted to straighten my own teeth, and teeth were very important to me. And I liked working with my hands, like doing beadwork and sewing.
So do you still do beadwork?
I haven't done beadwork in a long time, but I really would love to just get it out and do it regularly. Yeah. Been very busy, but it's definitely one of the things I enjoy doing.
Yes. So you went to Stanford. So what was your experience like at Stanford?
It was good. If I could go back in time and be 18 again, I definitely would do it all over, because going to Stanford is definitely one of the things that I'm so glad that I did. There was no other college I would want to go to. And it was just a shock, I guess, to leave Mescalero.
Mescalero, yeah.
Yeah, and go to California. I remember we went, I did this 3-week program, the Stanford Native American program, and it was to prepare us for life on campus. So we took a calculus course and a writing course, and they took us on field trips every day. Yeah, and I just remember being in the van. They drove us to San Francisco, thinking that if I were to get out of this van and get lost, I wouldn't know what to do. Like, that's how small town I was. But it was really incredible. Like, I used to not eat like fish or sushi, and just being here in Mescalero, thinking that that was too not good to have. But it really opened up my mind, and I think when I came back to Mescalero, things definitely looked different after being in California for that time.
So I always think that young kids, they're afraid of getting off the res.
Yeah.
But I think the goal's never to fully get off the res. It's to go off the res, build a life, and come back and serve your people. And you're living proof of that. And I love that. And you're such an inspiration to me. And I'm so glad that we're here, because I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. And I think I was going down a path that I wasn't sure about. And I'm so glad that, I met you and we got to do this, because now I have a clear vision on what I want in the future.
That makes me so happy to hear.
Yes, and you're such a good mentor. You are.
Thank you.
I appreciate you so much. So going back to Stanford, what drew you to Stanford?
It's actually a really funny story, and it kind of goes back to how things just happen. And I kind of think things are sometimes meant to be. I didn't even know about Stanford. And so I had applied to different schools, and one of the top ones I applied to was Dartmouth and Yale. Dartmouth because I knew there was a really good Native American presence there. And then Yale because one of our tribal members, Nelva Cervantes, had gone there. So she inspired me to think big. And I got a letter from Stanford recruiting me. They had seen my ACT score. And so they sent me a fee waiver. And growing up, I had a job at the inn, I worked in the arcade, and I also worked at Walmart. But, $45 was a lot of money. And so I think that's how much it cost to apply. So if there was a fee waiver, and if I hadn't got that fee waiver to apply to Stanford for free, I would have never applied. And when it came down to I was so fortunate. I got accepted everywhere I applied to, so I had a lot of choices. But my dad really wanted me to go to Stanford because Tiger Woods was there at the time. And Chelsea Clinton was there. So if it was good enough for the president of the United States' daughter, it was good enough for us.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So did Jerry go the same time you did?
No. So I am a year ahead of Jerry, but he was one of my best friends in high school. And while I was in undergrad, I definitely kept in touch. And I encouraged him to apply for like a visitation program. So when he was a senior in high school, I just remember he got to come out to Stanford and we got to hang out, and I think we went to Alcatraz and we did a bunch of different things, but I was like, you have to come here. And I remember him in my dorm room, my freshman dorm room, and I was like, you got to come. And he was telling me about things that were happening back here at home and how just coming to California was really opening up his eyes to changes that were going on in his life too. So it worked out.
That's so awesome. So you were even inspiring people then?
I hope so.
So where did you go to dental school?
Well, I really love the Bay Area. Stanford is just a beautiful place, and it's like a definite presence, like kind of like a character in my life. So I think of different places where we live as being just fundamental to who we are as people. And when I was applying to dental school, I also applied to the University of the Pacific, which is in San Francisco, because of that Stanford connection. So early on, Stanford had considered buying a dental school, and they never did, but University of the Pacific was the one that was in consideration. Yeah, and I was really drawn to it because at the time, and I think it still may be, it's the only 3-year program. Yeah, so you have to go to dental school without a break. Yeah. Okay, so it's the same amount of education time, but just no breaks. And I had this goal. I wanted to become a doctor by the time I was 30. And the only way I was going to get there is if I graduated in 3 years at that time in my life. So it worked out that way too.
Yeah, awesome. Was it a huge culture shock coming from Mescalero going there?
Yes, so it was definitely huge. So in college, they try to like mix things up to expand your horizons. So here I was from the reservation and grew up Catholic, and they paired me with a Jewish girl from Beverly Hills. So,
wow.
so that was culture shock. Yeah. We had an interesting time being freshman roommates. And then when I was growing up and going to school in Ruidoso, I was very confident. Like I knew I was smart. I didn't have to study. Everything came very naturally to me. So I just thought, oh, I'm so smart and kind of arrogant, I think. But going to Stanford, I was like, oh my gosh, these people are geniuses. And I had received the writing award at Ruidoso High School. And when I went to college, my first paper, I received a D on it. So I was like, what am I doing here? Was this a mistake? And I had done pretty good in math and science, and I thought I was fine. And my first chemistry exam, I earned a C, and it was just overwhelming. But what helped me was the Native American community at Stanford. So Stanford American Indian Organization and the Native American Cultural Center. And I felt so connected to them because I had been there for 3 weeks before school started. And the reason for that program was because they understood a lot of us from the reservation would have a hard time adjusting to college life. And so I kind of had a head start when I got there because I knew the layout of campus. I knew where all my classes were going to be. I was kind of getting a grasp on how to study, but I didn't even know how to take notes because I was just used to getting it. Yeah. So freshman year was really hard and it set me back. But by the time I was a junior, I was getting straight A's and I was doing very well in my major, but I wasn't ready to apply. At this time, I was going to apply to medical school. And because I had done so poorly in chemistry that I hadn't advanced to the organic chemistry or even taken physics. And so even after I graduated, I had to find a way to make up those prerequisite courses. So when I had failed those initial prerequisite courses, I could have really let it bring me down. But it was very important that I didn't stop out of school. A mistake I saw a lot of the native students do is they would just stop out and they would say, oh, my family is having problems, I need to go help them. Or, terrible things were happening in some of the people's families, but a lot of these kids had a hard time coming back. So I knew that no matter what happened, I wasn't going to stop out. And once I graduated and earned my degree, I needed to find a way to take those courses. This is another reason why I think things happen for a reason. So I'd applied for an internship at Johns Hopkins.
Okay.
And there's people at the Johns Hopkins Center for American Indian Health who saw my application, and they actually asked me, instead of doing an internship, if I would do a full-time job with them. So they hired me. So I was really excited to have an actual salary. And they made a deal with me that I could take courses and I could also earn a master's degree at Johns Hopkins.
Okay, nice. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, so it worked out that way. So I think the big lesson is don't give up and don't see obstacles as barriers, because they might actually be opportunities to open up a better door.
Yes. Well, just like in our previous episode, I talked about, there's blessings in the redirection. And I truly believe that.
Yes.
You're living proof of it.
Yeah. So when I was at Johns Hopkins, it's in Baltimore and it's close to Rockville, Maryland and Washington, D.C. So we had speakers come from Indian Health Service and the NIH. And it was the first time that I had a talk about dentistry and how Native Americans experience the highest rate of oral health disparities in the country. And I was like, I like teeth, and but are dentists really doctors? And that's where I learned that dentists are doctors and that there weren't that many Native American dentists. So it was kind of like everything came together visibly, oh my gosh, this is what I should be doing instead, because the prerequisite courses are the same for medical school and dental school.
Okay.
The admission tests are very similar. Okay. And once I changed that path, it was everything was just happening very smoothly. There weren't any struggles. It felt like the struggle was not as bad.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So, well, I want to add there that she is the first and only Mescalero Apache Native American dentist right now. So that's huge. That is huge. Did you feel like when you would come home that people judged you, people felt like you were better? I know a lot of the sayings are, when you go off the res and you come back, they're like, well, you're acting better than all of us. Do you feel that you felt that?
I feel very fortunate in that I haven't felt that. So I think growing up on the reservation, I think I got more, I think this is just kids being mean to each other. So, all of us growing up in Palmer Loop and riding the bus, I do remember there was sometimes people would say white girl, or why are you acting white? And this is always on the bus. And it was because I would try to read or do my homework and that kind of thing. And, I think it was just because we were kids and it's kind of funny. But growing up, I feel like everyone here at home has been super supportive and they've always been encouraging. And whenever I was in college and I would come home for feasts or different family events, people were always really interested in what I was doing and, wanted to make sure I was doing well. So
that's good.
Yeah. And then being here, it's just been so rewarding to be a dentist and to treat our own people and to serve our own community members. So it's been great.
So you worked for the Indian Health Service and now you're opened your own practice. Mm-hmm. So you'll be there for about a year coming up, right?
Yeah, so we opened up in May of 2024. Yes.
So what has it been? What's the difference? What do you feel like the difference is between working for somebody and owning your own practice now?
So when I was in dental school, I always thought I would be a public health dentist only. And so I wasn't really paying attention to the becoming your own practice owner or the business classes. And there's not that many business classes. I was just I'm doing Indian Health Service and that is it. And the first 7 years of my career were on the Navajo Nation at Sahotso Medical Center in Fort Defiance. Yeah, and it was it was phenomenal. There was 13 dentists and we had 24 chairs. And I had so many mentors. So I wouldn't be the dentist that I am today if it wasn't for that experience.
Okay, nice.
But I'm not a person that likes to fill barriers. Like if I see something or if I have an idea and I want to do something, if there's too many protocols or paperwork, I just get really frustrated because I want things to be more efficient. And so I was really frustrated with like budget limitations and like, I learned how to pull a lot of teeth because, IHS will always cover extracting teeth rather than repairing or restoring teeth. And I also knew I wasn't going to be on the Navajo Nation forever. And I wanted to come back, and the Mescalero Dental Clinic, it lacks a lot of the modern equipment and technology that is needed to do dentistry at a high level. And so I planned to come back home and eventually made it to where I felt confident being the dental director at Mescalero IHS.
So how was that? What was that like?
Yeah, that was good. I'm so glad I didn't do that straight out of dental school, because when you're straight out of dental school and you're a baby dentist, like you don't know how to handle emergencies and that kind of thing. So it was great. I loved working with Apache women delivering care to our people.
And that's amazing.
Yeah, that was amazing.
That's awesome.
And I think Mescalero IHS and the people that work there are great. And but I also started realizing, as Native people, we can't rely on the federal government to take care of us. Like, why should we trust the federal government?
Yeah.
And again, it was that same frustration. Like, you have ideas, you want to do things, you want to improve the services for the people, but you can't because there's so much red tape and so many barriers. So as a dental director, I was expected to be a clinician, but also the HR person and also the ordering person. And there's just, if I'm going to do that, I might as well have my own business and do it the way I want to do it to help people. So I had to make a difficult decision, and it was really hard to have to explain it to people because I felt like I was abandoning people. So that was really challenging. But what I did is I actually left Mescalero because of discontent that I had with Albuquerque area and IHS in general, because when you're a federal government employee, it's almost like they own you. I was president of the Society of American Indian Dentists, and they don't want you doing outside activities. I was publishing papers, and they don't want you publishing papers without getting approval. And they don't want you to say anything that's gonna make the federal government look bad. And I just don't want to be owned by anybody like that.
And they're not they're not allowing you to be the best dentist that you can be. Yeah.
Basically. And so I think being a Native American dentist, sometimes there's this expectation that the only path for us is to be an Indian Health Service dentist. And I want to break out of that mold. I've always considered myself a pioneer, and I think it has to do with my Aries personality and also being the oldest child.
Well, that was what I was going to ask. I was going to ask you about. Do you think that the reason, the reason you do a lot of things is because you had to kind of raise your siblings in a way?
I think so. And also even before that, I remember being really young, like 5 or 6, and just thinking I want to do stuff, and there's more to life than just Mescalero. Yeah. So I feel that I am lucky that I was born like that. I don't think everybody is, but if you have an idea later on in life, don't judge your path based on my path. I still want to encourage people to find their own path and run their own race. But I knew from when I was young that I wanted to do more, and that I was going to do exciting things. But so what I did is I took this crazy job, which was great, at Kids Care in Alamogordo, because I wanted to get really fast at dentistry so that I can be a pro at my craft. And I was pretty good at IHS, but I was also doing a lot of things, admin stuff and leadership stuff. So at Kids Care, I would see 60 patients a day, and this was exams, procedures, and just getting really good at dentistry. And at that time, I was all right, so I feel like I'm a good leader, I'm a good dentist, and I'm a pro and I can hire other pros like accountants and lawyers to help me create this own business. And I had good family support. So shout out to my brother Frizzell and sister-in-law Cassie. They basically said, you can do this. And I was like, gosh, can I do this? And I reached out to some other financial professionals, and we went over some numbers, and they're like, you can totally do this. Like what you're doing now, you can produce enough to do it for yourself. Because I was really scared about being responsible for the paychecks of other people. And, so just getting that encouragement, I was like, all right, I'm just going to take this jump, because sometimes we think about what's the worst thing that could happen, and we let that hold us back. And I was like, well, what's the worst thing that could happen? And I wasn't going to starve or, and even if I failed at the business, like I'm still a dentist. Like I could go back to IHS or somewhere else. So I would really encourage people, just don't be scared about change or failing, being scared of failure, because, we see successful people, and they didn't just like become successful. Like you don't see all the ups and downs of people who are achieving great things. So
I think social media nowadays just
it's all the pretty stuff.
Yeah, we get so fixated on social media, and it's just not real life. Yeah. So you opened up your new business.
Yes.
So how has that been going?
Oh, it's been interesting. So Tunte, I call you my ride or die, because you've been there from pretty much the beginning. So we opened, and it was from the seller dentist, so it's Dr. Waters, and I've known her since I was a little girl, and she was one of the first people that told me to become a dentist. And so she has this cute building, which I practice in now on Meacham. And so we opened, and we had to keep everything kind of confidential. So she closed one day and I started the very next. And it was like, oh my gosh, it was like, we had to really transition fast. And so we were open for 2 weeks. And then on June 17th, we had the fires. So
yes. So I was there.
Yeah, you were there.
I was there.
And I remember we were seeing patients, and they're looking at the smoke, and I was like, should I keep working? And we should have just closed, but we did. And then
we live and we learn.
Yeah. And so we had to evacuate, and I packed up my car, and I remember turning onto Warrior Drive and just like looking back, and I could see the flames coming up behind the Mormon church, which is across the street from our office. Yes. I was like, well, I wonder if I'll have an office tomorrow. We'll see what happens. Yeah. After the fire, it was just a really interesting time to have to reopen business, because people still need dental treatment. Yeah. And then a lot of our patients have been affected, like they've lost their homes. Yeah. So
sad. Hearing the stories of our patients telling us about losing their homes. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been hard for the community. But we've come a long way. Like I just see the changes that we've made to the building and to our practice, and in 10 months, and it's amazing.
Yes, I think you were worried I remember you saying that you were worried about, you wanted things to go fast, and you were worried that they weren't going fast enough, but I feel like, we've come a long way.
Yeah, and thanks to you too. Like I just remember, like clearly after the fires, it was just me and you, and there by ourselves, and you were calling all the patients and rescheduling them, and you had I don't even know how you learned the dental software on your own. And I was painting the walls, trying to make it look different, and it was a good time.
Well, I love working for you.
Aww,
and I love the relationships we've built. I truly believe like our staff, we're all a family, and I truly feel that way, and I've never worked anywhere where it's felt that way.
Oh, that's good.
I love going to work.
Oh, yay.
And there was a lot of times where I've worked at a lot of places, and I was like, I just hate going to work, but I love going to work every day.
Oh, that makes me
I always
happy.
tell doctor that I dream about dentistry.
Yes.
We do so many procedures, I'm dreaming about it at night, but I just love it so much, and I want you to know that your success is all of our success, being an Indigenous woman. So that's how I see it, and I just want you to succeed.
Thank you. It makes me super proud. I want to definitely do my best to be a good boss and a good mentor.
And you're great.
Thank you.
You are so great. So on this journey, what do you feel has been your biggest obstacle?
Well, I think for me, it was just the biggest obstacle has been me not having the self-confidence that it was going to work out. Like, I think people see me and they think like, oh, you're really confident, but, and I am, but I have a lot of anxiety about it. And I think that comes from not knowing if I could do it on my own, because a lot of people who are dentists, they have family members that have been dentists, and I've never seen anyone like us do this path before. So that was really hard to overcome. And I was just very fortunate to have good mentors. So one of my mentors is Dr. Darlene Sorrell, and she's the first Navajo dentist. So I shadowed her at IHS in Albuquerque at the SIPI campus, and she didn't know me, and I just sent her an email, and she welcomed me, and she's such a good mentor and friend to this day. So if it wasn't, so just having her lift me up, it makes me realize like how important, like we don't do this alone, and it makes me feel so happy to be able to help you or anyone else, because my dream is that there will be another Mescalero Apache Dentist in my lifetime. So you guys out there, like if any of you are interested in dentistry, come talk to us. Like,
yes.
It's a great career.
It is. And you'll love it. Yeah. I didn't think that I was like, being in people's mouths, that's kind of,
Yeah.
But I love it. I love the procedures, I think the one thing that I like is that you're constantly doing something. Mm-hmm. You're not just sitting in an office chair and that was one of the things that I struggled with was I did a lot of office jobs, and I was like, I can't do this, but I love it. I love my job. Good. Yes.
And dentistry is, I think it's so good for us who like to work with our hands. So like the beading and the sewing, when I was in dental school, I received an award, and it goes back to my suturing technique. So I really credit my parents for teaching me those skills. And I just love being a surgeon in the mouth and getting people out of pain.
Yes. So. And you're now doing implants.
Oh, yeah.
That's amazing. You're just, you could just keep shooting for the stars.
Thank you. Yes. So it's not like there's like a finish line.
Yeah, there's no finish line with you. I love that.
Thanks. Yeah, and it's, work is stressful of certain things, but it's a different kind of stress. Like when you have your own business, it's stressful, but it's like you run the show, and it's a good kind of stress for me anyways, because it's mentally stimulating, and I like figuring out how to solve these problems that are going to help us as a team.
Yes. So how long did this journey take you?
Yeah. So I used to beat myself up because a lot of people can do this journey, like college, dental school, be a dentist. And I had sideways paths. And so I graduated from college in 2003. And then I lived in Baltimore and did my master's and worked there. And then I moved to Albuquerque, and I worked there for a year. And I started dental school, I believe, in 2008 and graduated in 2011. So, and I felt like I was older in dental school. A lot of my classmates were 20 and 21. These were really incredibly gifted, smart kids, but they didn't have the same life experience I had. And the way that translated for me in clinic was I was better with people because I was just more comfortable, being older and having those experiences, work experience, where these other students, they were still kind of in college and figuring things out. So it turned out to be a benefit for me. And it goes back to just don't compare yourself to others.
Well, that was what I was just gonna add is I'm wanting to go to dental school, and I'm worried that I'm gonna be too old. And
yeah, you won't be too old.
I'm gonna be too old to be in dental school.
One of our most inspiring dentists in the Society of American Indian Dentists, Dr. Flores, I believe she started dental school at age 40. But and she's a dentist, and it's totally worth the journey.
So I have some time.
Yeah, you have some time.
Yes. So what has been your favorite part about this whole journey?
Oh gosh, I think it's interesting to be in my 40s now and to reflect on, how I've changed as a person. And you really won't see that until you get older. But just thinking about who I was when I was 25, 30, 35, and 40. And it's just amazing to see how we continue to grow and just the people that we touch and the life experiences that we have. And think about my friends in dental school and where they are now, and my patients. That's one of the favorite parts too, is just having these relationships with patients.
Yes. And I'm learning that now too, even just being the dental assistant. I'll see some of our patients and they're like, come out and talk to me, or they're like, I remember you. I'm like, okay.
Oh, so you're seeing them in town?
I see them in town, and they're so nice. But I always have like deep conversations with our patients,
which is good. I love that. Yeah,
it's my favorite part.
And I like coming back into the room like, oh, good, they're talking. I can go on Facebook a little bit longer. No.
I go in there, I'm like, doctor. So what advice do you have for our youth or anybody in general? It doesn't have to be about dentistry, but anything in general.
Yeah, so what I've come to learn, it doesn't really come down to motivation. Like, we can get motivated and really excited about something and then kind of forget about it and give up. What's the most important factor is discipline. So if you show up every day, even if it's just to do a little bit of whatever your big goal is, you will get there. So little steps compound and become great leaps over time. So stick to your plan. And I like to write things down. I'm a person who journals, and it's really fun. Yeah. Like you can see on my bookshelf over there, there's lots of journals, and it's cringy, but funny to like, my diary, to read what I wrote in the past. But it's also just so interesting to see what I was thinking then and how I've come. And then also it's like, it checks me too, because sometimes it's like, oh dang, I wanted to do that and I
forgot about it.
Yeah, I stopped progressing towards that. So anything that you want to do, if it's like exercise, dieting, finishing school, it's not about motivation. It's about discipline. And I do credit my parents. Like, they had us on a schedule when we were really young. Like, we ate dinner at a certain time. Dad would wake us up with a spray gun and would get ready and get on the bus and do our homework every day, because once you're out there on your own, like you're on your own. Like, you're not going to have that person to kick you out of bed and get going. So.
I think that was the hardest part for me, was I'm living on my own, and it's like, I have to be disciplined.
Yeah. And I went through that phase too. And, I've learned, and, there is time for rest. Like, I've come to like not beat myself up for resting. Yeah. But sometimes, self-care isn't just like taking baths or massages. Sometimes self-care is paying your bills on time, like doing a budget, being responsible for yourself so that you don't have to stress out later.
Yes, and I'm finally learning budgeting. I'm so high maintenance, but I'm learning how to budget.
Yeah, so I think another thing that we should probably talk about for people in our tribe and kids is budgeting money, because I didn't know anything about budgeting money or retirement. I think there's this lifestyle of just trying to live paycheck to paycheck, borrow money and not pay people back. If I knew what I know about money now, when I was like in my teens and 20s, like I would even be in such a better place than I am today. And these are small things, and they're not difficult to learn, but they also take discipline.
Yes, I agree. So my mom always tells me that I have two disadvantages in life. One, that I'm a woman, and two, that I'm Native American. So was that ever a factor in dental school or dentistry? I
thought it was, I always felt good about being female here in Mescalero, because, we've had female tribal presidents, and we have very strong women in our community.
Well, we're a maternal tribe, yes.
So I never considered myself to be at a disadvantage until I was in my 20s. And when I was in college and I started seeing like, oh my gosh, like this treatment, not only being a minority, but also being female, I do see it. And even during my first job on the Navajo Nation, I had one of the guys who worked at the hospital come up to me. He's like, hey, I'm taking pictures of all the doctors. Can you tell me where the doctors are? And I kind of took it I got really annoyed with him, and I was like, so do you think I'm not a doctor because I'm a woman? And we became friends and stuff after that. But a lot of people expect their dentist to be a white man. And I even had one of my saddest experiences was an elderly Native woman. She saw me and she said she didn't want me. She wanted the white man to be her dentist. So I got her the dentist that was not nearly as good as I am. And I was like, that's her loss. Yeah. But, even among our own people, we have to recognize this bias or maybe even prejudice that we have against our own tribal members.
I agree. So what is it like, you have your own practice, you're a business owner and, a dentist. So what is it like with balancing that and motherhood?
Oh yeah, that's, coming to own the practice, a big push for that was being a mom to Freddie. So Freddie's my 7-year-old son, and who from the office, he's growing up in the dental clinic.
Yes, I love him so much.
Yes. But I wanted to manifest this life where my house was here, Freddie's school was here, and my work office was there. And it's so amazing how it all came together. And I don't think it's a coincidence. I think it's really that I tried to build my life that way. And, in the pursuit of my career, I wasn't even sure I was ever going to be a mom. Being the oldest of 7 kids, I wasn't even sure I wanted kids and I don't even like kids.
I love kids.
But I like my own son. He can be challenging sometimes, but it is so amazing to have this little person and to see them develop and to see how they view the world and what they remember. And he's so incredible.
So what does he say he wants to be when he grows up?
He'll go between, sometimes he wants to work with me and be a dentist, and sometimes he wants to be a construction worker. He also wanted to be a firefighter for a long time, I think because of the forest fires here. So I'm excited for him, and he's doing really well in school academically. He scores very high, and he's super competitive. We'll see.
That's good. That's good to be competitive, So do you have any encouraging words for our viewers?
Yeah. So, life, it's hard and it's good at the same time. There's no matter what, there's always going to be times of struggle. And I always just go back to thinking of our people and how they had this journey where they were basically hunted down by the U.S. cavalry and became prisoners of war. And I just think about I am the dreams of our ancestors. Could they imagine living a life where we are in a home that's warm, that we have food in the refrigerator? And, life is good and we have to live our best life possible to honor them. And
I agree.
Yeah, I think we're a strong and resilient people, and that comes from our ancestors. Yes. So we need to just remember that power that they had and that they've passed that down to us. And we need to live our best life to respect and honor all the things that they had to endure so that we could be here today.
I agree. To add to that, I remember the Christmas card you gave me, and I remember reading it. I was in my car and I was reading it, and I was just so emotional. I was crying, and I was like, oh my gosh. And I remember you finished it with, it's so amazing to work alongside another strong Apache woman, and that just really touched me. And we're serving our people, and we are strong Apache women, and
yes.
I love that. So
I love the clinic that we've created, and that we've utilized the skills. We have other Apache women working with us, and that makes me so proud. And also, I think it's really important that we strive to be community stewards and bridge builders between the Mescalero and Ruidoso communities.
I agree.
So we've made a lot of connections, and we have various conversations with our patients about the relationships between Mescalero and Ruidoso, and that's been very interesting and rewarding.
Yes, I agree. You're just amazing.
Oh,
you
thank
really
you.
are.
I definitely want us to be peacemakers in our area.
Yes. Any last shout outs?
Yeah, I want to thank everybody who's come to our office to receive our services, our tribal members, people in the Redoso community who've welcomed me, because I know that was a hard transition because they love Dr. Waters. And yeah, it's been amazing. Just some of our patients have been, my teachers from elementary and middle school and high school, and that's been phenomenal. I just really love the community support. And then I also want to thank all of my employees. Like, I couldn't do this without you all, and I definitely do not do it alone. Like, I'm able to do the service I do because of you all. So
thank you. We appreciate you.
Yeah.
So with that being said, if you all have any dental needs, come to Enchantment Family Dentistry. So we always end our episodes with the cheers.
Cheers.
And our cheers is a little different today because Dr. Frizzell hasn't tried Red Bull yet.
Yeah, so I've never drank Red Bull. It's really bad for you. It's bad for your teeth. It's bad for your heart. And these ladies at my office, 3 of them, I won't say who, they've been taken out by Red Bull, having to go to the emergency room or see their primary care physician because their heart has been racing.
Yes.
So,
but we still drink it on the daily. Yes. So we're going to finish with the cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.